Hello, everybody. Welcome into the 9th episode of the Boiled Up Podcast, joined by me and Justin here today. Justin, how you doing, man?
Doing pretty well. How are you?
It's good to hear. Good to hear. Also, big shout out to all of our fans. We're over 100 subscribers on YouTube finally.
Yes.
So thank you, everybody, for subscribing to the channel. Keep reaching out. Keep watching our stuff. We're going to keep creating some content for you guys. So keep doing that. We love it all. So thank you, everybody, all the podcasts who have been reaching out to me with their stuff and helping us on our end. So thanks a lot to everybody who's been doing that. We got a good show today. In last week's episode, obviously, we talked to Stephon Logan, former NFL running back from the Detroit Lions and the Pittsburgh Steelers. But today, we're actually going to get back into debating, and we've had a lot of new news come into the last week in the NBA and in the NFL and even the MLB. The NBA, obviously, we had our schedule released. J.R. Smith signed with the Los Angeles Lakers. We've been running some positive tests with COVID in the NBA, so there's a lot to talk about there. But the huge bombshell over this weekend was Cam Newton signing with the New England Patriots. I mean, that shocked. I think that shocked everybody here in the world. I can't believe that was happening. And now we got another thing that we're going to talk about today is Antonio Brown. There's been some resurfacing news about him. We had a very controversial list put out about CBS, about the top 10 coaches in the NFL. Justin has a lot to say about that. This is his topic. And, of course, baseball is back. So we're going to talk a little bit about baseball later in the show. But we're going to start with the NBA. So we finally have a concrete schedule put together of who these teams are going to be playing. It was released earlier this week. And finally, we know who's going to be playing. Well, the first two games of the season on July 30th is going to be the Jazz and the Pelicans and the Lakers and the Clippers, two really good games. I'm a big Zion fan. I'm a huge LeBron fan. And obviously, I think in that Lakers-Clippers game, we have the two best teams in basketball playing possibly on the same day. And then after that, it's all day basketball pretty much every day. So I'm really excited for what's going to happen with the rest of the season. I'm hoping we can play through it. But it looks very, very good. And for us as Sixers fans, definitely the schedule is looking easy for us. And a lot of teams, there's a lot of controversy around the schedule. Some teams getting really hard schedules, other teams getting very easy schedules. Justin, what's your thoughts on the schedule release?
I like how, of course, when you look at the schedule release, you go and look at the teams and who has the hardest strength of schedule. And notice who's at the very bottom. It's the New Orleans Pelicans. And, of course, because, they want Zion in. And two top six of the hardest schedules are the Memphis Grizzlies and the Portland Trailblazers, the two teams that New Orleans is competing with. So I thought that was a little interesting when you're looking at the schedule there. A little slight advantage to the Pelicans, although they
maybe a bit
are certainly good. They're going to certainly need it to get back in the race after the terrible start they had to the year. But yeah, I'm excited for basketball to be back. It'll be fun to watch. Hopefully everything works out, goes well. I like how we're opening with Lakers Clippers. Hopefully Kawhi decides to play that game. I mean, we'll never know. Maybe he's load managing, but
oh geez, first game back, load manager.
Hopefully it'll be a good game. I'm just excited to have sports back, especially
I think
basketball.
It's very good. I think we've kind of had a taste here with golf, seeing live sports back, and in a month here we're going to be really getting in the swing of having almost everything back at once, hopefully pending, obviously some of these upcoming COVID tests. But I'm very excited as well. I think a big reason, and obviously I love Zion too, but Zion is big box office, and the NBA's lost. We know the NBA's lost a ton of money from this COVID crisis. So I feel like they're trying to position the league in a way where we can get Zion into the playoffs for higher ratings, possibly to help maybe get some of that money lost back, which would make sense. But it's going to be a tough climb, even with the one of the easiest schedules left. It's going to be tough for them to really get in. I hope they get in because I'd love to see Zion and LeBron in the first round. I think that'd be epic. But, we shall see. It would be a really good matchup, that's for sure.
See, I feel like it's not that great of a matchup because we'll talk about this later, J.R. Smith, but the one weakness the Lakers have now is their perimeter defense, and the Pelicans don't have that ball dominant guard. I'd rather see the Trailblazers get it because I want to see the Lakers try and defend Damian Lillard. Lillard will be dropping 45 points a night because who's going to guard him? You're going to put Alex Caruso on him? Rajon Rondo? Who's going to be guarding him? Nobody can guard him on the Lakers now. Avery Bradley was that ball-dominating defensive guard. He was the guy that picked up the man with the ball every time down the court. That was Avery Bradley's role. He's not there anymore. J.R. Smith ain't playing defense. Alex Caruso's not playing defense. Danny Green's all right, but he's more of an off-ball defender that can pick the passing lanes. Same with KCP. They don't have that guy anymore that can defend the perimeter, defend the point guard. So I think actually the better matchup in terms of who would give the Lakers the hardest fight would be the Portland Trailblazers, just because they have Dame and CJ as their guards, which dominate the Lakers guards defensively because they could not compete. And then you get the big men, you get Nurkic and Collins back for the Trailblazers. They're going to be healthy. They'll have two big guys down low with Hassan Whiteside, who's already there, and you got Melo space on the floor. I think that's a better game than it would be the Pelicans. I mean, Pelicans obviously have the bigger name in Zion out there against him, but I mean, I think the Trailblazers would be a much better matchup, at least from a standpoint of the Lakers possibly getting knocked off, and it would be going a longer series.
See, I actually think that you're wrong here. Here's why. Look, I agree with you on this. Dame Lillard is going to go off on the Lakers guards. I mean, now without Bradley there, the only guards who can really stop him would be KCP, who's a very underrated defender in my opinion. And I think J.R. Smith can play defense. He is still 6'6". It's not like, I mean, he's definitely not shutting Dame Lillard down, but I don't think he's a cakewalk. You know, I think if they put a guy like Rajon Rondo on Dame Lillard, that's going to be a cakewalk. But I think Lillard could get 40 to 50 points and the Lakers would still win because, first of all, who's guarding in the paint for the Trailblazers? They don't have Nurkic.
They do have Nurkic.
Is he going to be back?
Playing. He's back and playing. Zach Collins is back and playing. Hassan Whiteside is back and playing. They got three big men down low that can all play defense.
Look, I get you on Whiteside, but Nurkic just hasn't played in a while. I think he's going to be very rusty, maybe on even a minutes restriction because he's been hurt.
Maybe like J.R. Smith?
Well, all right, but J.R. Smith, I don't think is as important to the Lakers as Nurkic is to the Trailblazers.
Nurkic would be no more than the third option on that team, just like J.R. Smith would be no more than the third option at best.
The Lakers have an interesting team because obviously you got LeBron and you got Anthony Davis, and then I really think that they've built this team perfectly around those two. Now you have shooters like J.R. Smith. Obviously, we're going to talk about J.R. Smith here in a second. But him, you got KCP still, you got Danny Green, you got Kyle Kuzma, you got all these guys who can shoot and score around these two unbelievable players. And I don't think that the Trailblazers have enough on the inside and the outside to even give the Lakers really a fair shot. I mean, the Trailblazers have been terrible all year. I mean, obviously getting Nurkic back will help, but it's not like he's going to be at his 100% Nurkic self from last year, who I thought was actually their X factor on their team. I thought he was their most important player behind Danny.
He was. Certainly was.
Yeah. And, I mean, obviously he's coming back, and that's going to help them a bit. But I just don't think he's going to be up to speed. I mean, we saw Oladipo come back off that bad injury this year, and he was okay in like the 8 or so games he played, but he was not the same Oladipo yet. And expecting Nurkic to really get this team up to speed in 8 games, I mean, I don't think they're going to get in anyways. But even if they did by a miracle, I don't think they'd be able to give the Lakers a good shot. Whereas the Pelicans with Zion, who's already played almost 20 games. He's gotten a feel for the NBA. He's gotten a feel for his
20 games is a lot there. 20 games is nothing.
20 in those 20 games, the Pelicans with him and Ingram on the floor were like unstoppable. I mean,
what was the record with both of them out there when they both played? Not very. They were like 500.
They were 11-8. But think about
500. You realize for them to make the playoffs, they'd have to basically go 6-2 at least.
Oh, I think they can do it. I think they can totally do it.
They'll have to do it. But here's the difference. When you look at these schedules, the NBA, like, you see, like, strength of schedule, which is why I said it was fishy. But actually, I think the less percentage you have, like, if you're facing a team that's not in the playoffs yet, it's actually going to be a harder matchup because they're fighting to get in the playoffs. These other teams already have the seeding. So, like, if you're playing the Bucks, I'd rather be playing the Bucks because I think the Bucks are going to be playing Giannis no more than 20 minutes now that they have the 1 seed locked up, basically. Same with them. I'd rather play the Lakers because I don't think Anthony Davis and LeBron are going to be playing 40 minutes a night. Meanwhile, these other teams like the Spurs, you get the Kings, Suns, Grizzlies, Pelicans, any of these teams, they're fighting to get in the playoffs. They're giving it 110% in all these regular season games. So I think that's a tougher matchup when it comes to effort level in those games rather than playing a good team, because I think a team that's already going to lock up their seeding, they're not going to be playing for much. They're going to be resting some players, especially at the Clippers. If they lock themselves into that 2 seed or even the 3 seed, because the 3 seed really doesn't make a difference because there's no game 7 home court advantage in this. So really there's no difference between the 2 and 3 other than first round matchup, which they should win either way. There's no sense in them really playing Kawhi a lot in there. So I could see these teams it's tough to tell right now at the moment. But just because you have an easy strength of schedule doesn't mean it's an easy schedule, because these teams are going to be given 110% if they're at the bottom.
I see where you're coming from, but like I think just first of all, as an NBA fan and as like first and just looking at what the last two games before all this quarantine, I know it probably feels like it feels like a year ago, honestly, for all of us, the last time that we saw some basketball. But the Lakers and the Pelicans played each other twice in between like a 2-week span, and Zion played both those games, and those were two of the most competitive, high energy basketball games that I've really seen all season. Both teams were clearly playing at a different level for that game because it was the new era versus the old era in Zion and LeBron. Both games were extremely close. I just, as an NBA fan, desperately want to see Zion and LeBron in the playoffs. We might only have a couple more years where it could happen. Although I'm with you, and I know we talked about this last summer when this trade went down with Anthony Davis, that we both thought that in the long run the Pelicans won this trade. Mm-hmm. So I do think we're probably going to be seeing Zion and LeBron in the playoffs with each other for at least the next couple years here. But I just love to see them play in the playoffs here right away. And I think LeBron would come out triumphant in this matchup of a 1 versus an 8 seed, obviously, because the Lakers are going to get that 1 seed no matter what, really. But, I think it'd just be really entertaining basketball. It'd probably be a 6-game series, I think. I mean, obviously there's no home crowd advantage, so maybe the Lakers would win quicker. But I still think it'd be a very good series. And I like the Pelicans a lot. I think they got a really good core here. They got Ingram. They got Lonzo Ball, who's been very underrated this season. I know you like Lonzo. And they got, obviously, Zion Williamson. So those are 3 guys who could be future all-stars, really, in that team already. They're going to be scary. I mean, obviously, they're not ready yet to win a championship. They're not ready to win many series. But I really like their team right now. And I think that they would give the Lakers, even right now, a better run for their money than the Trailblazers would, because I just don't think that the Trailblazers have great guards. They got McCollum and they got Lillard. But I don't trust Hassan Whiteside at all against Anthony Davis. I don't think he can stop Anthony Davis. I don't think Nurkic can stop Anthony Davis right now. I don't think anybody on that team can stop Anthony Davis right now. And good luck trying to guard LeBron with him on the same floor with each other. Whereas the Pelicans,
let's get into J.R.
is a capable
Smith. Can we get into J.R. Smith first?
We should get into J.R. Smith. We are talking about the Lakers, so let's get in. Obviously,
what are your thoughts on the signing? What are your thoughts?
I think this is a huge signing for the Lakers. I think, and I know you're not going to be with me on this, but I think that when I heard the news that Avery Bradley and Dwight Howard were going to sit out, I was like, the Lakers are now officially, again, a piece away. And I think J.R. Smith is the piece that gives the Lakers the edge this season over the Milwaukee Bucks. I truly do. I think having now another capable shooter who can defend. J.R. Smith is a very capable playoff shooter. He has playoff experience with the Cavs. You saw him come up clutch in the finals against the Warriors. I mean, he had some crazy games in those finals where he hit 5, 6, 7 3-pointers. If he can do that against the Milwaukee Bucks, 2 years ago, but he can still shoot the ball. Did you see him in China? He was putting up 40 to 50 points in China.
It's 2 years ago. The Lakers had a chance to bring in J.R. Smith right before the trade deadline there. They had a chance to bring him in. They worked him out. And clearly they didn't like what they saw because they let him go and then came in and signed Dion Waiters, who had a lot of off-court issues there. So clearly there was something that they didn't like with J.R. Smith and why they chose Dion Waiters, who had baggage with him at the time. They wouldn't have just signed a guy. Not only did he clearly outperform J.R. Smith, he must have really outperformed him if they signed him, and he had off-court issues because J.R. Smith didn't have any. So clearly there's something there. I mean, they clearly didn't like him enough to bring him in then. So clearly he's not their first option. Avery Bradley is a huge loss. J.R. Smith has been not in the NBA for 2 years. 2 years he hasn't been in the NBA now. Well, it's like 620 days or whatever since he last played a game, but that's basically 2 years. J.R. Smith is just not the same player he was. If this was J.R. Smith in 2011, oh yeah, this is a great signing, but this is 2020 J.R. Smith that we're talking here. He's at best a role player. He's going to be fighting with Dion Waiters, Alex Caruso, KCP, and all those guys. He's going to be fighting with them for minutes. He's going to at most get 12 to 15 minutes a game, maybe get 3 to 4 3-pointers a game. He makes 1 or 2, will be scoring, averaging maybe 6 points per game. He's not that big. People like you are acting like he's the third piece. He's the missing piece. He's now the
I
big
think he
completion of the
is.
big three. But he's not. They were good enough without him. They didn't need him. What they had, they were the number 2 team. The Lakers were the number 2 team in defense since the trade deadline. They were very good. They had all the pieces. They were built on their defensive end. And they lost 2 of their best defenders outside of Anthony Davis and JaVale McGee. I would say Avery Bradley and Dwight Howard would be the next 2 best defenders on the team. And they lost both of them. And then you're bringing in a guy who hasn't played basketball in 2 years. He wasn't known as a world-class defender. He was just an average defender who, when he wanted to, could play above average defense, but it wasn't that great defense. And it was only when he wanted to, and that was 2+ years ago. So how do you know what you're getting now? He hasn't played basketball. You're acting like he's going to be some star. We haven't even seen him yet. We don't know what he's going to do. At best, you're going to go put him in, a guy that hasn't played in 2 years, into a high matchup here that we don't know what we're going to get out of him. They're going to build him along. Maybe by the finals or something, you can start seeing him, or as they get deeper into the playoffs, you can start seeing him get more minutes. But at first, he's not going to get any minutes with this team. They're going to give the starting job to KCP.
See, and you brought up one of the other guys who I think is a key part of this championship run now, which is Dion Waiters. So, look, J.R. Smith might not work out. He might be an inconsistent shooter when he comes back. But Dion Waiters can still score the basketball. I think
But they don't need scoring.
Well, first of all, they lost Avery Bradley, who in the last game that the Lakers played scored 27, 28 points against the Clippers. And that's what you need. You need that against the Clippers. You need somebody who can do that. And J.R. Smith can put up 20-plus points, and so can Dion Waiters. So I think they have 2 very capable bench
Smith
guys.
Are we talking here? 2020 J.R. Smith or 2015
J.R. Smith can hit 6 to
Smith?
7 threes. I guarantee you J.R. Smith can put up
6 to 7 threes. That gets him to 18 to 20 points. That's not 28 points. You think he's not doing anything outside of shooting threes? You just said he's scoring as many points as Avery Bradley scored. You said he scored 28 points. If that's the case, he's not hitting almost 10 threes in a game. At most, he hits 5, 6, at most 7. That's 20 points. And that would be at most. He'd have to be on fire, and he'd have to be shooting almost every possession he plays. So, I mean, there's no way he's putting up that many points.
I'm saying this. If you can give me if you can alternate Dion Waiters scoring maybe 8 or 10 and J.R. Smith scoring 20, and you alternate those scoring, you're going to get the same amount of output. Now, the problem – losing Dwight Howard is a different scenario, and the Lakers haven't really signed a backup center, so they're going to eventually, I assume. But, yeah, so that they're going to need help there. Their defensive rating is obviously going to go down because losing Avery Bradley, one of the best guard defenders in the league, will hurt. But I think going from second to maybe fourth or fifth isn't going to hurt them that much against the Clippers or even the Bucks, because to be honest, the Bucks don't play nearly as good a defense as the Clippers. So as long as they can get past the Clippers, they should be okay. And then again, this goes back to my thing about why I'm picking the Lakers to win the championship, because I think that the real championship is when they play the Clippers. They're the only team who can really beat these 2 studs. I don't think the Bucks can beat the Lakers in the finals. I don't think they can. I think they lose in 5 or 6 games, especially with this bubble format, not being able to play in Milwaukee. So, that's honestly how I feel about it. I think that the Lakers' main championship this season is against Clippers, and I think a guy like J.R. Smith, who was probably going to be signed eventually by somebody heading into this bubble, getting him is now another capable three-point shooter, just like Avery Bradley. In fact, he's a better three-point shooter at times than Avery Bradley. And you throw in Dion Waiters. Dion Waiters when he's
on, he's better than Avery Bradley, but he's not on every game. He's very inconsistent.
All you need in the playoffs is 1 or 2 games where J.R. Smith goes berserk, and the Lakers will be winning these series. You just need 1 or 2 games a series out of J.R. Smith. He can have 4 crappy ones, and he can still get you into that next round because he's going to win you a couple of games with his shooting, clutch shooting.
But the problem is, he hasn't played basketball in 2 years. 2 years, and you think he's just going to jump into the league and be what he was?
He's going to have fresh legs, if anything.
2 years at 35 years old. You think he's just going to be some god back like he was in 2014, 2015? He's not good anymore. At most, he's an average role player for that team. He's not that great anymore. He's not that good of a player. They're going to struggle against teams.
He's never been a great player. I'm just saying he can go berserk.
He was a solid player back in Denver when he was really young. He was a very good player, but that's besides the point. Back then he was good, but he's old now. He's just not the same player. And honestly, if they're playing a team like the Portland Trailblazers, I really could see an upset in the first round because
Oh,
who's guarding Dame, who's guarding CJ? You got 3 capable Collins, Whiteside, and Nurkic.
you're
Like
gonna take the
not like they're necessarily.
Trailblazers over the Lakers? I think if you took Anthony
I
Davis
don't.
off the Lakers would still beat the Trailblazers in
Hey,
the series.
how's Anthony Davis done in the playoffs in his career? Oh, right, he's never shown up for a playoff game in his career. Never. He chokes every playoffs. He never wins anything. He's never done it before. You act
It's
like
gonna
he's
change.
like LeBron James. You don't know that though. History doesn't say it well.
History might not say it will, but I think playing with LeBron James, Anthony Davis could literally not show up to the arena, and the Lakers would still beat the
You don't know that.
Trailblazers.
You don't know that. You know who's played like underdog upsetter before? Damian Lillard has multiple times. He's done that multiple times. Houston Rockets, Oklahoma City Thunder. There's a list of teams that he's upset. I wouldn't be surprised if the Lakers are another one. They have
Oh
nobody
my
to guard. He'll be
God.
dropping 40 points a night. You get McCollum outside who hitting some threes. Whiteside will be somebody's gonna have to guard Whiteside. Whiteside can shut down AD on the defensive end for sure. And you have a guy like Nurkic who can score down low with his post moves. Zach Collins can space the floor out. You got guys they're capable of not necessarily beating them, but they'd make that 6-7 games for sure, without a doubt.
I'm telling you, without Anthony Davis even on the floor, hell, I
Really?
think
How did Anthony
I
Davis do against the 6'6" center on the Houston Rockets? How did he do that game when he was guarding when a 6'6" center was guarding him? How did he do that game?
that's
Do you
one
remember that game?
game. Yes, I do remember that game.
Exactly.
Anthony Davis struggled.
Anthony Davis isn't consistent. He's not some known star that shows up night in night out like LeBron. You're acting like LeBron has a surefire like top 5 player next to him. There's no guarantee Anthony Davis is a top 5 player in the playoffs. When have you
He's
seen it
top
before?
6.
Never. You've never seen Anthony Davis perform in the playoffs ever. You can't say you
But
have.
also, before 2016, did we see Kyrie Irving do anything in the playoffs? No. And look who
No,
showed up and
he
hit the
never. Yeah, but
game-winning
he's never
shot.
been there. He was never in the playoffs.
Well, in 2015, he got his first experience with LeBron, and he was playing well in the playoffs until he got hurt. What I'm saying is, I think Anthony Davis
Anthony
will feed
Davis has
off
been in the
LeBron.
playoffs. Anthony
I know
Davis has
he's
been in the
been, but he
playoffs
hasn't. They
multiple
had
times, and he
terrible
hasn't shown
teams.
anything.
He had
He
nobody to
was
play
in the
with.
playoffs. He was able to get to the playoffs, and he choked every time. Every game where he's been in the playoffs, he's choked. You have
He was
no fact
the
to back
best
that up. You're
player.
you're just hoping. You're just hoping that Anthony Davis decides to play like his potential, which is not a guarantee at all. You're acting like it's a guaranteed thing that's happening.
I think LeBron, and this is what LeBron is notorious for in his whole career, he brings the best out of the best players. He brought the best out of Kyrie. He brought the best out of Kevin Love. He's going to bring the best out of Anthony Davis in the playoffs. It's just a given fact. He's going to. Anthony Davis is going to play well in these playoffs. If the Lakers lose in the playoffs, it's not going to be a team like Portland. It's going to be either the Clippers or the Bucks. Those are the only 2 teams who I could see beating them, or this COVID crisis, getting to one of these star players.
I don't know. I could see a lot of teams beating them now. That they don't have, I could see the Rockets could give them a lot of trouble with James Harden, Russell Westbrook. They have nobody to guard either of them. Not a single
Who's going to
person,
guard
and they've
Anthony
already done it
Davis and
before.
LeBron?
They don't need to guard
Rockets?
Anthony Davis apparently because Anthony Davis can't score on a 6'6" center.
Oh, okay. You're taking one game. I bet you if you put Anthony Davis in 6-game series against the
I'm
Rockets,
just
he'd score
saying
40 plus.
he's not able to do it. Who's going to guard James Harden and Russell Westbrook? Not a single person can guard them. And when you look at it, teams like any of those teams with the point guard, they're going to struggle against. I actually think they match up well against a team like the Bucks because they have the big guys that can shut down Giannis. They match up better against the Clippers because the Clippers don't have a dominant point guard that can drive through. They have bigger guys that they work through in George and Kawhi, so they do match up well against them. But they struggle against those teams that have point guards. So I think they will struggle against those teams. Not necessarily lose, but they will go longer. That most people would say 1 versus 8 seed, that's a sweep. Most 5 games. I could see it going 6-7 games against the Trailblazers.
Okay, well,
Grizzlies. I'll give you I'd like to see the Grizzlies make it a series, but I don't think the Grizzlies could just because they have no experience. The Trailblazers have experience in being underdogs and performing well enough to upset high seeds, so I would not be surprised about that. It wouldn't shock me. I wouldn't bet on it or anything, but I wouldn't be shocked.
I look, I see where you're coming from. I think that this postseason, and this is going to lead right into our next topic here, playing in this bubble, we could see some very absurd and crazy stuff happen, obviously. And I think the number one factor behind what you're saying, and obviously I'm not agreeing with you at all because I don't think the Portland Trailblazers have the chance in hell. Even if Anthony Davis gets COVID and is out for the rest of the season, I think they'd still lose that series. But I digress. There's going to be a lot of scenarios where players, obviously we've already seen, what was it, 302 tests and 16 were positive already in the NBA? So
5%.
yeah, if there's a scenario where 5% of the NBA is getting this virus, there are important players who might, obviously I think if you take off a player, like a deep bench player who has it, it's not going to have an impact. But, we've already seen this crisis basically take out two of the Lakers players because they're refusing to play, Dwight and Avery Bradley. So
it has nothing to, it has a little bit
for
to do with the
Avery
virus, but
Dwight was something. Dwight was
they were more social justice issues, yeah. But both of them were. Avery Bradley's was 50-50, but Dwight's was purely social justice.
Yeah, well, yeah, exactly. Everything that's happened throughout this crisis, through the quarantine crisis and stuff, that's led to this. But it's going to be interesting. Obviously, I hope none of these star players. Obviously, we hope nobody gets this virus and has to miss games. But if I, as an NBA fan, I would much rather see a guy like Dion Waiters and the Lakers get it than LeBron James and Anthony Davis. Just because, imagine you're watching a Lakers-Clippers, conference finals and Kawhi, LeBron, Anthony Davis, or Paul George, one of those big four is out because of the virus. It would stink. It wouldn't be the same series we would want. So
okay, but here's where you're wrong. The virus is going to be spread. So if one player gets it and they're all staying in the same hotel, eating in the same place, it's going to spread throughout the whole team. If one player gets it, the whole team is screwed. That's the issue. That's why they are in the bubble. The bubble is nobody gets it. That's why as soon as you show up there, they're testing every day now. And as soon as you show up there, you get tested. If you test positive, you're removed from the situation, and until you come up negative and you're clear, you are not allowed to go back out into the bubble. So the goal is to not even let Corona get into the bubble. Like, nobody will have it. So by the time you get there, if you test positive now, you have to test negative to get in the bubble. So nobody in the whole goal of the bubble is to make sure there's no virus inside and it won't come in. So it's going to be tough to do, but I mean, like the tests show, 16 out of 302, that's only 5%. Mm-hmm. That's actually less than what the average. If you show 100 tests, normally 6 of them will show up. Six of them or whatever it is. It's like 6%. It's 6%, I believe. It's 6% the average. So if you show 100 tests, 6 of them will show up positive. So when you go through the list, it's about right. I mean, it's just what happens because they're outside the bubble right now. Once they're in the bubble, everything will make itself work out.
When do they move into the bubble so that there can be because obviously if they're coming into the bubble a week before the season, a lot of different factors come in. But if it's 3 weeks, they could be able to control anybody who might be sick with it. Do you know when exactly they're coming into the bubble?
I believe it's around July 10th.
Yeah, I know it's something like 2-3 weeks before because as we know,
it allows time for once they get there, they'll have 2 weeks. There'll be at least a 2-week period before games start. Mm-hmm. But it's around July 10th.
Yeah. All right. Exactly. So, yeah, I think obviously we're very thankful and happy to have basketball back. An interesting thing I'm seeing on First Take here is, do you think that the NBA season is going to be able to be finished with all this COVID stuff? And I think if the bubble is correctly done and none of these players leave the bubble, I think that the NBA season will be okay. But if we do have a scenario where players are walking out, leaving the bubble and coming back in, we could see a scenario where we have another probably just end of the season. I don't think they'll push it back any further. So,
agreed.
Just really hope that the players can just stay in that bubble, stay safe, play your ping pong, don't go out, have fun.
Video games.
Yeah, play video games. Just focus on your game, and we could see some really good basketball. So, we're going to move on to the NFL now. So this was what we were talking about at the start of the show, the biggest real news that we've seen. And honestly, this is bigger news than even I think the sports coming back was, because we've been talking about Cam Newton for a while now, even before quarantine, about where he's going to go, what's happening with his career. And in the biggest shell-shock move in a while in the sports world, outside of probably the DeAndre Hopkins trade in recent time, for me at least, we saw the Patriots, a team that doesn't really make any flashy moves. We know Bill Belichick's not about picking up star players. I think he regrettably picked up AB last season. they signed Cam Newton, kind of out of nowhere, when we all thought Jared Stidham was the guy. So this whole signing has kind of turned everybody's opinion around about the New England Patriots. Do you think this signing makes Cam Newton and the Patriots contenders?
Well, first I have two things. One, the Panthers screwed over Cam Newton by releasing him so late in the season because then he had no option to sign with anybody because they already signed their quarterbacks. So one, the Panthers screwed him. They also screwed him by letting him take so many hits. But yeah, so first off, the Panthers screwed him over. Second, Cam Newton is conveniently signed the same day the Patriots get caught cheating and their punishment is handed down. I have a feeling Bill had this deal in the works for a couple weeks now, and he just decided to announce it to go public with it as once he knew the punishment was coming down to distract it. Because honestly, if you look in the news, not a single news station is talking about the Patriots getting caught for that cheating.
Exactly.
Everything's talking about Cam Newton. I think this was a master plan by Bill Belichick to kind of distract everybody from that. Those are my two thoughts on that before, but no, absolutely not. The Patriots are still not contenders. At best, 8-8 last playoff spot. But other than that, there's no way they're contenders. This team just isn't built for Cam Newton to have any success. They don't have any wide receivers. They have one wide receiver, Julian Edelman, who is purely a slot wide receiver who catches quick passes, which is by no means Cam Newton's strong suit. Cam always struggles with the short passes. He's more of a big arm, mobile quarterback who likes to take his time in the pocket and throw deep. That's not Edelman's game style. Mohamed Sanu's been hurt. Who else you got there? N'Keal Harry's been a bust so far. They've really got nobody for him to throw the ball to there. They don't have a tight end. He's used to playing with an elite tight end like Greg Olsen his whole career. They don't have that. That offensive line is just average at best. They're built for holding off pressure for 3 seconds and letting Tom Brady throw. That's not how Cam Newton plays. Cam Newton holds onto the ball, makes plays happen with his legs. That's not how they're built. And that defense that they have, it's not so elite. And that was proven by the end of the year last year. They just played those first 8 games were just very easy. They were poor offenses that they were playing. And while that defense did play well, by the end of the year, that defense was just good. It was above average, good. It wasn't that great by the end of the year. I mean, it was getting exposed. And that defense that was just average, slightly above average by the end of the year, giving up 20-plus points to the Miami Dolphins, that defense lost some key contributors this offseason. So, I mean, they lost Van Noy, a couple other pass rushers. They lost some players. It's not going to be the same defense. I'm worried for that Patriots team. I think they can go 8-8, but honestly, I think they're built better for Jared Stidham. I think he'd be better to come in, take the snap, and make that quick throw. How's Newton going to adjust to the Bill Belichick way? Will Bill Belichick adjust his system? He's not a guy that's able to. Cam Newton's not selfish guy, but he cares about his ego. He's got big ego. He likes to make the attention on him. He's kind of a self-centered person, I guess. I mean, I don't know him, but I'm just kind of guessing on that. He gives off that vibe. So, I mean, how's he going to deal with taking all that criticism Bill Belichick gives? Bill Belichick loves to rip on the quarterback. He did it all the time with Tom Brady. How's that going to go with him? Whenever somebody got sent to the Patriots, like Antonio Brown, they always made sure Tom Brady was the guy that got the locker next to him. They made sure that guy had a locker next to Tom Brady. Tom Brady would take that guy under his wing and be like, hey, I know it's a little rough, but we're going to win games, so just follow along with me and we'll win Super Bowls. And they accepted that. I don't know if Cam Newton's that guy. I don't know how that's just going to work. I'm very skeptical. They have a very tough schedule this year, so that doesn't help them either. I think they'll go 8-8 at best.
I see what you're saying, and this was a tough one for me. I've been thinking about this question since the signing happened, and I've just realized I was thinking about it, and I was like, the Patriots lost a few pieces this offseason, but nothing major. They didn't lose a lot. They lost Tom Brady. They lost a couple other guys. Nothing major. A couple defensive guys.
A couple linebackers. A couple defensive ends.
But nothing that blew me away. They didn't lose any star receivers. They didn't lose, obviously, the defensive player of the year last year, Gilmore. And I got to say, I think the Patriots are Super Bowl contenders this season. I really think they are. I think they're Super Bowl contenders because this team, and I know the schedule was easy last season, but they went 12-4 with an overrated and aging Tom Brady. I believe that Cam Newton will be a giant upgrade over Tom Brady in this offense.
The Cam
First of
Newton
all,
hasn't played football in 2 years. The Cam Newton has had 3 surgeries in the last 2 years. That Cam Newton,
I
the Cam Newton that
first
had more hits than most running backs did on him
Cam Newton.
throughout his career.
Look, listen. 2 years ago, when Cam Newton and the Panthers, they weren't good. They went like 6-10. But Cam Newton had 29 touchdowns to 13 picks, and he had like 36 overall touchdowns. He played great. Last season, he was hurt, and he missed basically the whole season. And obviously, that's led to him not being signed until this point. I think he can rekindle that championship MVP type play that he's been playing most of his career when he's been healthy. If he is healthy, he is a giant upgrade over Tom Brady, who's a 40-plus-year-old quarterback who couldn't do anything in this offense last year because there isn't a lot of wide receivers to play with. There's no tight end to play with. Cam Newton is one of the guys who can actually do a bunch of stuff with his legs. He's a 60 to 80-yard rusher per game type quarterback, just like Lamar Jackson.
He was.
I think he still can be that player. He's only 31.
After an ankle surgery and 2 shoulder surgeries, yeah.
I still think he's still got pretty good mobility in him to put up those type of stats. Tom Brady
You're guessing. You're assuming.
Tom Brady still threw for about 250 yards last year. I think Cam Newton can do that or better because he has a better arm than Tom Brady. I think N'Keal Harry's going to step up this season and play a lot better. They still got a pretty good backfield with Michelle and White. I think that this team is slightly better now with Cam Newton than they were last season. I think they win 12 games again, and I think they can make some noise in the postseason. I think they can be a championship contending team. I think there's only really 2 teams in the AFC who I could say they're clearly better than the Patriots, and that's the Chiefs and the Ravens. Other than that,
they won't even beat the Bills in their own division. They may not even beat the Jets.
I truly think they're going to win that division. I think they're going to run away with that division. I think this move has been incredibly underrated. But everybody's
underrated. It's the most hyped up move ever. If anything, it's overrated. He may not even be the starting quarterback week 1. They haven't even.
He's going
if he's not even
going
to be the.
If he's healthy,
he's not even going to be the starting quarterback week 1.
They still love Stidham. He's going to play. If he's healthy, he's going to play, and he's going to play at an MVP level. I mean, you cannot sit there and tell me that at healthy level you would take Stidham over Newton. Obviously not. But
I don't know about that. I haven't seen how Newton's played recently. He hasn't done well. He hasn't played in 2 years. How am I supposed to know what he's done?
It is scary. It's scary to see players with big chips on their shoulder like Cam Newton has right now in the Bill Belichick system, who also has a chip on his shoulder. I think this could be a huge comeback season for
Bill Belichick. I mean, his system doesn't work for a guy like Cam Newton. The system is built on quick passes, quick throws. Cam Newton is not that guy. Cam Newton doesn't have an accurate arm. He throws deep balls. He likes to move the ball on the field. Bill Belichick's offense has never done that. Not even with Tom Brady in his prime. It was more about dink and dunks. That's why everyone knows Tom Brady throws short passes. It's all about the short passes and run after catch. That's how everything works in that offense. And that's just not what Cam Newton's about. Cam Newton likes to air it down the field. He likes to make the big plays happen. That's not how it works with him. That's not how it works with the Bill Belichick way.
Look, I understand your point about Cam not being healthy, but Bill Belichick is possibly the greatest coach in NFL history. He's going to make it work regardless of who the quarterback is.
I'm not saying it's his fault, but that team, if it weren't for the fact that they were playing easy teams in the beginning of the year, they probably wouldn't have gone over 7 wins last year. So maybe they go 8 wins and 9 wins. That's if Cam Newton can finally stay healthy, which he hasn't been able to do. So it would take a miracle for him to even stay healthy throughout the whole year. I don't see it possible.
I do. I don't know why. And obviously I've been a big Patriot hater, but I love this signing. I think Cam Newton could have one of those seasons where with Bill Belichick as head coach, if he can just take what Bill Belichick's going to do, because Bill Belichick wouldn't make the signing unless if he thought he could make an offense work around Cam Newton. He knows Cam Newton.
Are you sure, or did he just sign?
I don't believe
to
that
minimum deal. That worst case scenario, he still is Jarrett Stidham. Bill Belichick can't lose by this. Worst thing, Cam Newton gets cut and nothing happens. Like nothing happens, and they go along with their original plan entering the year. Like Bill Belichick can't lose by this. But compare the teams in the division. Go to the Bills, for example. Better defense all around. Give it to the Bills. Better offensive line. Give it to the Bills. Better quarterback. Bills. Better wide receivers. Bills. Tight ends are pretty even, but running back, Bills. The Bills are a better all-around team, and they're going to have an easier schedule because they don't have to play all the number one teams that finished first in the AFC last year like the Patriots do. They get to play the second-place teams in the AFC. See, that's how the schedule works. The Bills or the Patriots are going to go play Kansas City. The Bills don't have to play Kansas City this year. So it's a big difference.
It is. It's a big difference, and I know what you're saying, but I have to believe in Bill Belichick, who, as I've said this before on this show, I believe he is the MVP of the last 20 years for the Patriots, not Tom Brady. So
I mean,
I
have
think
you
he can just
have
make
you
it
looked
work.
at their roster though? Like, have you looked at their schedule? Have you looked who they play? You think they go win
Their
12
schedule is
games?
bad. I know, and I know there's a lot of people like you
The
can't. You
Bills
might
twice, the
realistically, you might not
Ravens,
be able to find
the
8 wins
the
on that schedule.
Rams.
Oh,
No,
the Rams. Get out of here with the Rams.
the Chiefs, the 49ers, the
The
Texans, the Chargers.
Texans. No, the Chargers and the Texans and the Rams have nothing on Bill Belichick and Cam Newton.
Really? How's Deshaun Watson done in his career against Bill Belichick? Because Deshaun Watson's dominated him every time they match up, just like Cam Newton dominated Bill Belichick every time he matches up. Bill Belichick can't play mobile quarterbacks very well. That defense doesn't work against mobile quarterbacks.
It doesn't, but he's got one of his own now to go right up against the Houston Texans to match him point for point with Cam Newton, who's honestly, Cam Newton at his best was probably better than Deshaun Watson's ever been. And if Cam Newton could even get a lick of that left, he's going to win a bunch of games.
5 years ago. 5 years ago, 6 surgeries later. He's not going to ever perform at that level again. You realize that year he took the most hits in the league, more than running backs took?
I understand he's taking the most hits in the league since 2011.
Did you watch that Super Bowl? How many times he was getting cheap shotted by the Broncos players because the Panthers didn't care?
This is what I'm saying, and this is my same exact argument for Big Ben. These guys have been banged up their whole careers, but last season they basically got a whole year to load manage. They're going to come back healthy. Cam Newton's fully healthy now. He hasn't had a single problem all offseason. He's finally healthy. You know, no full season of wear and tear like he had every other season before last year. He's going to come back healthy. He's going to come back hungry, and the Patriots are going to be Super Bowl contenders this season. That's just how I feel about this signing. I think it's a great signing.
That's a terrible take.
I don't know. I think you're gonna be proved wrong. Never, ever, ever doubt Bill Belichick. That's one thing.
I don't doubt Bill Belichick. I doubt the fact that Cam Newton can't stay healthy. That offense, the wide receivers create zero separation, dead last in the league. They didn't upgrade that. They have no tight end. Their run game is just really average. I mean, they don't really have anything there. If they are able to win 8 games, it's all on Bill Belichick. That's a miracle that they were able to do that because that defense is not elite anymore. It's top 10, but I wouldn't say it's top 5. And that offense is just average at best, even with Cam Newton. So, I mean, them winning 8 games would be very impressive.
Well, I think you're going to be proved wrong. I mean, it's a hot take from me. It's one that I had kind of been sitting on for a while, but I just kind of feel it in my gut.
I feel like that's not hot. I feel like that's majority of people's takes right now because everyone's all aboard the Cam Newton Patriots hype train.
Maybe so, but I still think it'd be pretty unexpected for Cam Newton to come out here and play like an MVP and win, possibly go to the Super Bowl, at least maybe the AFC Championship. But that's how I feel. But now we're going to move on to another player who played for the Patriots last season, also played for my Steelers for a bunch of years. He was the best receiver when he was playing in the NFL, and he's back in the news again. We've seen him the other day. There are a lot of teams in the NFL who are interested in signing Antonio Brown. Not exactly who do you think will sign him, but where do you expect AB to land, or where would you like to see Antonio Brown land if he's going to be signed?
Okay, so obviously I'd like him to sign with the Philadelphia Eagles because we're desperate for wide receiver help, but I don't think that happens. I would love it to happen because I love AB, to give Wentz a number 1 target to throw the ball to, but I don't think that happens. I would love it to, but I don't think it happens. Realistically, I'd say there's about two teams I really see, and they're both in the NFC. One, San Francisco 49ers. They need somebody to replace Deebo Samuel and Emmanuel Sanders. Deebo's hurt. Sanders left. So they need a wide receiver. They have no wide receiver. That'd be good for them. And the other spot's the Green Bay Packers. I think Aaron Rodgers needs another weapon alongside Devontae Adams. I think that'd be a really good fit out there. I think that would work well. My sleeper fit, though, this may shock some people, but what about him on the Chicago Bears? That's a little shocking. Put him alongside Allen Robinson out there. You got
No,
good
that'd be
tight ends.
great.
You got two good
No
tight
quarterback,
ends.
though.
You got Nick Foles with
Nick
Tariq
Foles,
Cohen. Nick Foles is a good enough quarterback that if you stick him out there with Allen Robinson on one side, you get AB on the other side. You got Tariq Cohen out of the backfield, or David Montgomery, who's a beast. He's a problem to stop. And then you get two
if they
tight
use
ends.
him. They didn't use him
You get
last
two
year.
tight ends with the guy, new rookie from Notre Dame, and Jimmy Graham. That's a solid offense, and they have one of the best defenses in football for sure. So that's one of my sleeper fits out there. I think that'd be a good fit that nobody's talking about. I'd love the Eagles. That's not going to happen. But Green Bay and San Francisco are my two big ones I'd like to see him go to.
All right. Obviously, I love Antonio Brown. I think obviously he's had a lot of issues, and that's why he's not signed, because he's got the talent. It's just his personality issues that have kept him off the field. But generally speaking, it's been a while since I've really heard anything where AB's gotten any trouble, said anything stupid. So I think he's kind of correcting himself in these last 5 or 6 months since, obviously he had a series of really, really, hard to watch stuff that was happening with him. And I think he was just in a rough place in his life. I think he's figuring everything out. And I do believe he's going to get signed before this NFL season begins. And I think the one team that I honestly think, and I wouldn't have thought this a while ago, but I think the one team that we've seen that has their best chance of signing Antonio Brown is the Seattle Seahawks. I think they're the favorite right now to sign him. Outside, there was odds put out just the other day ago, and it was minus 200 that no one signs him, but plus 300 that the Seahawks sign him. So it seems like there's something that's showing people that the Seahawks might try and sign him. Obviously, it would take a lot.
That last year Russell Wilson said he wanted Antonio Brown.
That's true.
That was before the Patriots picked him up. But that's just the only. There's been no reports that they want him. It's just been the fact that the report last year Russell Wilson said he wanted him. They haven't talked about it since then, but that's what they're basing it off of. That's where they get that number from.
Yeah, I understand that. That's a team where if I had to pick a team that could sign him, that just like you said, a team that I would say is the favorite, I would probably say it's probably the Seahawks, probably the Ravens, one of those two. Those are probably the two most
Ravens, absolutely
realistic.
Not. He should stay away from the Ravens. No,
he's been working out with his brother.
It's his cousin, but
a cousin, yeah.
He doesn't need that's the last thing Lamar Jackson needs. A diva to tell him what to do and tell him he's open constantly to try and get him through the ball. Absolutely not. That's a nightmare waiting to happen. That's how you ruin
Big Ben's career around. Big Ben was
kind
of just an average quarterback until AB came.
That's the difference. Blew up. That's the difference. Big Ben was a guy that they elevated each other. Lamar Jackson's already elite, and so is Antonio Brown. So when you're looking at that, it doesn't really help the situation. All it's going to start happening is AB is going to be chirping in his ear, hey, I'm open. Why didn't you throw me the ball? Hey, I'm open. Why didn't you throw me the ball? He's going to start looking for him, or he's going to be covered more. He's going to start getting double teamed if he is open. And then it's going to lead to Lamar Jackson getting hurt. He's going to be taking more hits because he's going to be looking for Antonio Brown more often. Who's going to be covered more. Yeah, it's going to lead to something bad. Like I'd rather not see Antonio Brown there. I'd rather see Antonio Brown end up with an experienced veteran quarterback. That's why I like Aaron Rodgers, or I like I like the Eagles a lot just because the Eagles are very good with keeping guys clean when it comes to off-field issues. The only guy on the Eagles right now that has an off-field issue is Jalen Mills, and that happened back in just like freshman year of college. Everyone else is clean. They've never had any issues outside Nigel Bradham's one slip up with a gun in the airport. Outside that, the Eagles are perfect with that. They have a good locker room culture. I think that's something Antonio definitely needs. So I'd like the Eagles there for that fit. Aaron Rodgers is a good leader in the locker room for him, I think. Lamar Jackson would not be, though. I don't think that's a good fit.
So as I was saying, those are my two that just realistically, but a sleeper team, like you said, I think the New England Patriots could be a team that comes out of nowhere and signs him again. I think if you think about it, last season, Antonio Brown had issues with Oakland. He was going off the rails. The Patriots still signed him. They still signed him until obviously those allegations came out against him, and they had to get rid of him. But now things have kind of been cleared up. And it would make perfect sense because they literally have nobody at wide receiver except for Julian Edelman. Him and Cam Newton have worked out with each other before. He's got a connection to that Patriot organization. I think Antonio Brown could conceivably end up on the New England Patriots again. I think Robert Kraft really likes him, and I don't think
That's where you're
Bill
wrong. The reason he
Belichick.
went to the Patriots was because of Tom Brady. He wanted to play with Brady. It had nothing to do with Belichick, nothing to do with Kraft. It was all catching from Brady. He
But we
came
know
out
he's
and
not
said it.
going to the Buccaneers because Bruce
No,
Arians hates him.
absolutely not. But he's not going to go back to New England. He said he hated it there when he was under all those strict policies of Bill Belichick. He didn't like that. He was only there for Tom Brady. If he's going anywhere, it would be to go play with Tom Brady, or else he's going to be going to a true contender that has a good quarterback and a good leader that can run it.
Cam Newton.
Cam Newton is not that guy. No way. If Tom Brady was still the quarterback of the Patriots, I would say 100% absolutely Antonio Brown is probably the leading spot for Antonio Brown to go. But now, no way.
Like I said, they're my sleeper. I mean, there's a lot pointing against Antonio Brown going to any team right now. So there's an argument for everything there. But I just think it'd be so fascinating to see Antonio Brown re-sign with the New England Patriots after all that's happened and now with a new quarterback, because he's not going to be able to play with his best friend, Tom Brady. He's just not going to be able to. And there's no chance of him reuniting with Big Ben. I think that relationship's tarnished forever, even though we see him out here running routes in the Steelers shorts and the Oakland Raiders hats, which is Oakland Raider helmet, which is honestly pretty funny, I think. But, I don't think there's any reconciliation with those two teams going on. Speaking, our last topic here in the NFL, Justin and I came across a very, very crazy list that came out from CBS. I don't remember. Do you remember the reporter's name who made this list?
No, I do not off the top of my head.
But the list was a little bit – it very much angered everybody who saw it. There was an outrage on Twitter. It was the top 10 head coaches in the NFL right now. And I'm going to read the list off right now. The reporter at CBS had Bill Belichick at number 1, Andy Reid at number 2, John Harbaugh at number 3, Sean Payton at number 4, Kyle Shanahan at number 5, Sean McVay at 6, Mike Tomlin at 7, Pete Carroll at 8, Doug Peterson at 9, and Mike Zimmer at 10. And everybody pretty much exploded. They couldn't believe. Honestly, we all kind of see Belichick and Andy Reid as the top two coaches, I think. But after that is when everybody got a little bit angry. First of all, with Doug Peterson, obviously Justin's a big Eagles fan, and he brought that team to the Super Bowl with a backup quarterback and won it. And he's below guys who haven't even won a Super Bowl yet, like Kyle Shanahan, Sean McVay. These guys are ahead of Doug Peterson, And Mike Tomlin, I think Mike Tomlin at 7 isn't terrible, but I think he should be top 5 based on what he did last season. And Pete Carroll is a little low at 8. Pete Carroll's done a lot in his NFL career. And Mike Zimmer is not top 10 in my opinion. That's another crazy part of this list. My personal top 5 is Belichick, Andy Reid, Sean Payton, John Harbaugh, and Mike Tomlin. That's my top 5. And I'd probably have your guy Peterson right there at 6. So a lot different than what this list is saying. I don't even think Kyle Shanahan's top 10 because I think he's a good coach, but he's a coach who doesn't seem to be able to coach in the playoffs and know what he's doing. I mean, he's choked in 2 Super Bowls. You can't just ignore that. Sean McVay, he choked in 1 Super Bowl, so he shouldn't be top 10 either. But he actually did revolutionize that Rams team around a pretty mediocre quarterback in Jared Goff. Kyle Shanahan, all the pieces he needed to win a Super Bowl, and he had everything leading up in 2 Super Bowls, and he blew them both. So he should nowhere be even near the top 5. But Justin, I know you had a really big issue with this list, so I want to let you dissect it and talk about your top 5.
Yeah, well, first off, Doug Peterson at 9 is a disgrace. I mean, Doug Peterson has beat all these guys in front of him head to head, and he has the Super Bowl that they don't have. It just doesn't make sense. And the guy who made the list, I watched the video, and he said the reason was that they have a better win percentage than him. What does that have to do with anything with coaching? That was his reasoning for putting Doug Peterson at 9. But I guess Super Bowls don't matter then because
playoff win percentage must not matter to this guy.
That doesn't make sense to me. I mean, Doug Peterson has done everything you can ask for as a coach, which is why I have him a little bit higher than you do. My list is Bill Belichick at 1, Andy at 2. I have Peterson actually at 3. I think he is very underrated. I think that may be a little high. But, I mean, currently, I think what he's done is incredible. These other guys, they're good, but they haven't made the Super Bowl over him. They haven't won the Super Bowls in the past couple of years outside Bill and Andy. They're not winning Super Bowls. They're choking in the playoffs. They're not getting it done in the big game. And they've had their teams healthy. Peterson's gone through multiple times having his quarterback injured, his star wide receiver. They would end a quarterback at wide receiver last year and their fourth string running back off the practice squad. They had nothing and they were still able to make the playoffs. And they would have beaten a Seattle team if it weren't for the fact that Carson Wentz took a cheap shot from Jadeveon Clowney. I mean, they had a 40-whatever-year-old quarterback playing there who hasn't taken a snap all year, and they almost beat the Seahawks. Like, the incredible coaching he has done is just, oh, it's so good. I don't know how you can have him outside your top 5. It just doesn't make sense. Number 4, I have Sean Payton, and number 5, I have Tomlin for the job he did last year with that very poorly talented Steelers team on offense. They just had nothing going for him. So his coaching job was very good. But yeah, the Doug Peterson thing is just a disgrace in my opinion. I don't understand how you can have him at 9.
9 is too low. I think he's 6. I almost have him in the top 5, but I have to give credit where credit is due to John Harbaugh and Sean Payton. Obviously, Sean Payton hasn't had the playoff success that Peterson has had, but every season
Sean Payton's choked every year. Every year. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how you do in the regular season if you can't coach him into the playoffs and win.
Now, granted, I do think if there hadn't been that terrible call against the Rams, I think they probably would have beat the Patriots in the Super Bowl because they were really dominating that season. They were 13-3. They were 13-3 last season. They've been really good every year. I feel bad for Sean Payton because I don't think it's really all his fault. I think it's part of just the players have been choking, and Drew Brees, all those guys. Obviously I don't feel bad for New Orleans because they're kind of one of those hated sports towns. I think they're kind of all a little bit nauseating, kind of like Cowboy fans. But I think you got to give him credit for what he's done. He has one of the highest win percentages in NFL history, right up there with Bill Belichick. So he deserves some. And my case for Harbaugh is just because that team did a complete 180 as an offense. They went from Joe Flacco 2 years ago to a completely different quarterback with Lamar Jackson, and they had success at the end of Lamar Jackson's rookie season getting to the playoffs, and then they went 14-2 last season. And if it weren't for Lamar Jackson with some very, very bad turnovers early in that game, they should have beaten the Titans. We all agree they were a better team than the Titans.
They got out-coached. That what happened was they got out-coached by the Titans.
I don't know if they got out-coached because
they 100% they got out-coached.
There were some turnovers from Lamar Jackson that just put the Titans right in the red zone. I mean, and then you got Derrick Henry in the red zone. There's not much Harbaugh can really do to stop Derrick Henry in the red zone. He can't stop his quarterback from turning the ball over like Lamar Jackson did. He had like 3 turnovers in the first half. It killed him. And I'm a big Lamar guy, but, there was no way that the Ravens were going to recover from that. I don't know if you can really put that all on Harbaugh. I think that's
but Harbaugh hasn't had the success. He's had 2 years now. Last year was just okay, and then this past season was very, very good. But I can't judge. He hasn't been that good out the years before that. He really struggled. They were talking about firing him out there. So I mean, I wouldn't put him quite in the top 5 yet. If he can continue this with Lamar Jackson, I would say so. But I think that system is going to get exposed this year. Got exposed in the playoffs. So, I mean, I wouldn't put him in the top 5 yet. I think that's a reach. I don't think he is there yet. If he can, he's been in there before, but I mean, I just don't think you can have him there yet. We'll see how he does this season, but I mean, I don't know. I think you have to give him another year before you put him in the top 5. Meanwhile, guys like Peyton and Peterson have had consistently good seasons and have been good for consistent years now. Harbaugh has been up and down throughout his career here. So I can't put him in the top 5. He's had seasons like this before, and those seasons ended up in a Super Bowl win. So, I mean, I don't know. They choked it last year, so I don't think that's that impressive. They didn't win. If they would have made it further in the playoffs, I'd say yes, but they lost that first matchup, and I think part of it was on coaching. He didn't have that team prepared to win.
I think it is interesting to see, I think, with Andy Reid, I think we kind of all saw Andy Reid as a top 5 head coach, but after winning the Super Bowl, he spurted all the way up to 2. And it's interesting to see with your guy, Doug Peterson, it seems like a lot of people have forgotten about that championship. Obviously this guy
championship with a backup quarterback.
I don't think people realize how hard of a championship that was. Obviously the Eagles had home field in every game that playoff, I believe, but, he still had to go up against Tom Brady, who was the MVP that season, and the Vikings were still good that season. They slaughtered them. They slaughtered the Vikings in that game. They beat everybody else heading into that Patriots game, and they beat Tom Brady on the biggest stage in the league, So I think Doug Peterson is – and, again, what Doug Peterson did the year after that when they had Nick Foles, they won a playoff. They won another playoff game. They should have won 2.
In Chicago against the best defense in football that season.
Granted, you had a little bit of a lucky of a missed kick, but You know,
It was tipped. It was
it
tipped.
was it was tipped. It was tipped, and then we all know it doubled going.
But
And they
here's the
should have beat
difference.
the Saints
When
the
you're a
next
guy
week.
like they should have if Alshon Jeffrey didn't draft it. But when you're a guy like all these other coaches that consistently have elite quarterback play or an elite talent at quarterback, it makes your coaching job so much easier. Doug Peterson hasn't had that. Doug Peterson has gone through spurts of having no talent on his offense and no talent in his secondary, and he's still able to coach this team up to be able to win football games. These other guys, I don't think could do that. I think if you switched roles, those teams would still be good offensively, but the Eagles would not have been this good. Like, yeah, Andy Reid won the Super Bowl, but I mean, how much coaching do you think he really, like, obviously he coached, but how much coaching do you really think he did last year compared to a guy like that doesn't have Patrick Mahomes at
Definitely not as
quarterback?
much.
It helps when you
I'll
have that
agree with you on
elite
that.
quarterback. Like when you have a backup quarterback playing, that takes a lot more coaching and pure genius stuff to win games rather than having a true elite talent at quarterback. Just like when Carson Wentz is a quarterback, he doesn't have to do as much coaching. But when he was trying to coach Nick Foles was a system player. When you're a system player,
Mm-hmm.
that you're constantly coaching that system up to pretty perfect, and that's what he did. So I mean, I have to have him in the top 5. I think I have him a little higher than most people would at 3, but having him outside the top 5 in my mind is crazy.
It's a good argument, and I think it's a valid one. I think we're going to see a lot of shifting in those rankings depending on who's winning this season. It seems like those rankings fluctuate a lot. You know, with Sean McVay, he had one good season, and now it seems like everybody thinks he's top 5. A little bit
Can't
maybe
stand Sean
premature.
McVay. So overrated.
But Doug Peterson has been a consistently very good coach as a head coach. He was a great assistant coach too.
I got a question for you about Sean McVay. If he joined, I heard a theory here. I thought it was a little crazy at first, but I'm kind of liking it more. If Sean McVay wasn't so young and like not necessarily good looking, but like so like
fresh,
you know what I mean?
maybe fresh. You know, like
fresh. Yes. If he wasn't so fresh, and let's say if you like, for example, if you switch Doug Peterson and put him on the you know what I mean? Like if you switch
I
them,
see what you're saying. Yeah, would the Eagles have the same success
do
as
you
the Rams?
like their career? If you switch their career paths, even would that still happen? Like I think Sean McVay is just overrated because he's a new, fresh face in the NFL. Like he hasn't been around before, and he's just doing it. Like I think people give him the benefit of the doubt in that situation, rather than other guys, and I think that's unfair to guys like in this list, like Tomlin, Carroll, Peterson, and Zimmer. I think it's unfair to put Sean McVay necessarily, maybe not Zimmer, but Sean McVay over the other guys is just unfair. And I think it's almost biased because he's so young and new.
I'm right with you there. I think if you put Sean McVay and switched him onto the Eagles would not have won that Super Bowl in 2018. And I think if you put Doug Peterson under the Rams, you would have seen. I don't think Doug Peterson would have been able to win a Super Bowl with Jared Goff against the Patriots, but I do think that they would have been better last season because last season they were like 6-10 and they didn't even come close to the playoffs. I think they would have been a playoff team last year. Obviously Doug Peterson's really good with quarterbacks because he was great with Nick Foles. He's obviously, Wentz you don't really have to be great with. He's just a great player. But he's been great with Nick Foles. And I kind of see a lot of Nick Foles and Jared Goff. They're kind of similar,
Agreed.
you know. I think they're both system quarterbacks, so maybe he could have made it work. It would have been interesting. I think they could have given the Patriots maybe more than 3 points, hopefully in that Super Bowl. But it definitely would have been it's an interesting proposal that you just made, but obviously I think Doug Peterson's better. I don't think Sean McVay's even top 10, so obviously I'm with you.
Neither do I. Another thing with coaching, though, I think you have to look at how they handle, like, obviously calling plays and all that stuff, that's a big aspect. But how you handle a locker room, off-field issues and all that other stuff, I think is a big deal as well. And that's another thing that Peterson does really well. Like I said, the Eagles have no off-field issues. They've always had good chemistry in the locker room. Just different things. Other coaches sometimes struggle with that. So, that's another aspect into coaching. Like, coaching isn't just calling plays. There's the whole leading a team, controlling a locker room. There's more to coaching than just win percentage and stuff like that.
I agree, and I think head coaching is a good topic. We definitely want to talk about it today because it is in the NFL, a lot of people say it's a game of coaching, and the NBA is a game of players. The NFL is a game of coaching. So coaching is bigger than what most people would say it is. So the last bit of news that we want to talk today on the show is Major League Baseball. We finally know that baseball is coming back for a 60-game season. So we know we're getting baseball back, and we know that probably what's going to be happening is most of the teams are going to be playing their division rivals for a majority of their games, 40 to about 40 games in the division, 20 or 40 games in the division.
40 games in the division.
Yeah. So the topic we brought up for our last topic of the day was who we think could be a sleeper team because of this new sort of layout and format that could make some noise in the 60-game season. And Justin, you can go first.
I really like the Phillies. That's a little more biased, though, I think, than anything else.
I like the Phillies too.
I think Alec Bohm and Spencer Howard will make the roster and kind of compete for playing time and produce well. Exactly.
You got some other key guys there. I don't know. It's kind of an interesting spot to be in. It's still so open. They have to play a tough division, the AL East and NL East, so that's tough. I don't really like that part, but I think they're going to be good. I like the St. Louis Cardinals a lot because of their schedule out there. They get to play the Cubs, the Pirates, the White Sox, the Tigers. They get to play them a bunch of times. I think that's a lot of wins for the Cardinals. But my true sleeper would be probably the Oakland Athletics. I think they end up taking the AL West, and I really like them. I think they have a solid offensive hitting lineup. Their pitching staff's going to be half decent. They get Sean Manaea back, so I think that's a big boost. I really like them this year. They keep all those young talent that they have has been developing year in, year out. It's just getting better and better. I think they'll be good this year. I really like them.
I see where you're coming from. I was considering a lot of those teams. The Phillies, obviously, I like the Phillies a lot. I think that Zach Wheeler is going to help the rotation a lot, and I think having Bohm and Howard and one of the best hitting lineups in the MLB is going to help. But having to play the Braves and the Nationals a lot more games is going to hurt us a lot in that division playing them, as well as the Mets, who are no pushover, even though they're not a great team. But my real sleeper for this season is the Los Angeles Angels, a pickup that didn't really get a lot of noise, even though it should have, was that they got Anthony Rendon in the offseason, who played a huge part in that Nationals World Series run. He's a three-time he's joining Mike Trout, who's won the MVP, I think, 3 times now. And obviously he's the best player in baseball. And I still think Albert Pujols, even though he's old, is a good contributing player, for that team. And I think the number one X factor for that team is Ohtani. Ohtani's now going to be pitching this season finally, hopefully, if he can stay healthy. And we know he can bat. We haven't seen him pitch a lot, but I think he's obviously got electric stuff that I think he's really going to be a better pitcher than a batter when he starts to become this dual threat player. Since like most talked about one, probably since Babe Ruth. And you also got their shortstop, Simmons, Dalton Simmons. I like him a lot. They got Tommy La Stella. I really like this team. I think that they got a really good chance to make some noise this season. I think they're going to make the postseason for sure. I think they're going to make the postseason for sure. And I think they could win a series or two. I think their rotation is still very weak. Mm-hmm. Their rotation is going to be what causes them problem. I mean, outside of Ohtani, I really don't see anybody in that rotation that's a consistent starter, really. So that's the only problem with the Angels this season. But if I did have to pick one team, it would be them to be my sleeper.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think the Angels a lot. They get David Fletcher back, added in Ohtani's pitching, Anthony Rendon. I think they're a good team. It's more so a matter of how that bullpen and how that pitching holds up, because I'm a little worried about that. I think the A's have a little more depth to their pitching, and they certainly have a much better bullpen. So that's why I have to give the edge to the A's in that division. But, I mean, I do like the Angels a lot. I think they have a good team, good all-around presence on the hitting side. Justin Upton, Albert Pujols, Mike Trout, Rendon, Fletcher. You got the guys there that can produce. It's just a matter of getting them to hit now. You got Trout more protection. I like that pick. I think it's a good pick. I certainly don't hate it. I'm worried about who's starting after Ohtani. I mean, Tyler Skaggs was looking real promising there, so it's unfortunate what happened there without him. But I mean, I don't know. I like it. I'm just worried about the depth there. I think that's a good pick, though.
Yep. I like your pick too. Obviously, I think there's a lot of teams that could be sleepers with this new format, but It's going to be an interesting Major League Baseball season. Obviously, I think the MLB is probably at the lower end of our of our hype right now is there's not been a lot of news on the season yet outside of the NBA and NFL where there's been a ton of news. But it was a good topic to end on there. And I think that's a good place to end for our 9th episode of the Build Up Podcast. Obviously, everybody keep subscribing to our YouTube. We're gaining up big time there. Keep watching our stuff. Keep liking it. Keep sharing it. And obviously, you can see Justin on the Teed Up Podcast with David Smith, buddy of mine. So go watch his stuff as well.
Yep.
Follow us on Instagram, all that good stuff. All right. We'll see you guys.